Welcome to the Lawyers Weekly premiere edition of Curia, where lawyers talk about their passions outside the law. Today we're joined by Chris Freeland, the National Managing Partner of Baker McKenzie and also the Chair of the Sydney Film Festival. Chris is talking to us today about exactly how and why he got involved with the festival and why film is his passion. Chris is joined by Clare Stewart, the Sydney Film Festival Director, who will tell us what we can look forward to in this year's festival. So Chris, firstly, tell us a little bit about how and why you got involved with the Sydney Film Festival.
Sure. I have been involved in not-for-profit and community organisations right throughout my career, and most significantly I was on the board of a national theatre company for many years prior to this, and was approached by the Sydney Film Festival to see if I'd be interested in taking on the role of chair, given that experience and also my other experience as a lawyer, as a strategy consultant and in management. And when they called me, I thought it sounded like a pretty interesting opportunity. So I said, yeah, I'd love to talk to them about it. And here I am.
And you're the managing partner of a global law firm. So how do you balance your role with the festival with your daily duties, your daily job?
Sometimes it's tough. It's a hard thing, and particularly this time of year. But the thing that I love about the festival is it gives me a chance to take me outside of the work environment and to mix with people who think very differently to lawyers. Claire and others involved in the film industry think in much more creative ways in many respects, more artistic ways, let's say that much, than lawyers do. And I find that fascinating, to get the chance to mix with different people, and it enhances the work that I do with Baker McKenzie in giving me the chance to think of new and creative ways about the business of law.
Fantastic. And Claire, what do you think Chris brings to the role of chairman?
Well, Chris brings an immaculate sense of governance, I'd have to say that. It's extremely impressive. But, you know, one of the things that I think has been very critical for the festival, certainly in the 5 years that I've been in the role as director, is that we have been, you know, quite deliberately broadening the festival out in terms of both the program and the appeal of the program, as well as the way that it's presented within the city. And I think that, you know, Chris has got his eyes firmly on that agenda and has a very good sense of how that might happen over time. And so he certainly brings that kind of thinking into the mix as well.
Fantastic. And Chris, where does your interest in film come from?
Look, I don't have a background in the film industry, but I'm passionate about films. I love films. I could think of no better way to spend time than watching a great film. And I was thinking ahead of this discussion about kind of my earliest recollection of loving a film. And my dad, who's now in his 80s, when I was growing up, would from time to time, when I was about 10 or 12, would rent in these old reel-to-reel projectors into our house. And that's kind of a really unusual thing. This is before DVDs and videos. And he would rent these films. And I distinctly remember him renting Jacques Tardy's Monsieur Hulot's Holiday. Jacques Tardy is a great French film director, and it was in black and white, of course. And he invited the neighbours to come in and watch this film, and I just thought it was hilarious. And that's my earliest recollection of a great film.
I'm so jealous. You know, credentials are built on having those fabulous childhood memories, and I grew up in a small country town without a cinema. The closest drive-in was like a half hour away, and so I had a very deprived childhood, and I've been overcompensating ever since.
He didn't do it all the time, but from time to time, but it was good fun.
And I mean, so with an upbringing like that and a passion for film, did you ever consider a career in film?
Certainly not. I don't know what I would have done. I certainly wouldn't have been an actor. No, is the answer.
Short answer. And so obviously law and justice often pop up in films in one way or another. How important do you think film is in sort of bringing to light issues of justice, human rights, law, lawyers, that sort of thing?
I think it's an extremely important medium in that respect, and there's quite a lot of focus within this year's festival on issues around that. For example, and the most obvious one being that there are two Iranian filmmakers this year, Jafar Panahi and Mohammad Rasulov, who were actually arrested in March last year on crimes of having made a film against their country, and in December were sentenced to 6 years in prison and a 20-year ban on making films and leaving the country and engaging with other international organisations. This is an incident that's obviously really ripped the film world apart quite significantly so, and there's been a very deliberate focus in international festivals on this particular case. And we are doing a tribute program to both filmmakers this year. But it is very interesting because the focus that, for example, Berlin Film Festival had held an empty chair for Jafar Panahi on their jury this year. Cannes Film Festival awarded him the Lifetime Achievement Award for Courage. And there's an ongoing, I guess, mobilisation to draw attention to human rights issues, and this one is very specifically about film itself.
One of the great things about film festivals, and the Sydney Film Festival I think does this really well, is to tell important stories. And so we have some more mainstream films, but we have a lot of stories both in the official competition, which we have as part of the festival, as well as through our documentary series, which talk about significant issues, and that includes human rights issues, that can include legal justice issues, and includes environmental issues, for example. And I mentioned earlier a film in a last year's festival which touched on environmental issues. So I think it's great not only to provide a vehicle for people to see cinema beyond the multiplex and expose our audiences to broader films, but also to have the opportunity, without pushing any particular agenda, to tell really important stories.
And you both must meet some fairly interesting people in your roles. Is there anyone that stands out for you as being a highlight?
Last year we had, you've met lots of people, so I'll go first. Last year at the festival we had a number of really interesting people involved in the film industry, both on the production side as well as actors, so celebrities. And one I particularly enjoyed meeting was Ewan McGregor, who we had here, who was starred in the film The Ghostwriter, and Ewan's done a bunch of films, Star Wars included, and I love the film Star Wars, so it was nice to meet Ewan. And what I really enjoyed actually about meeting him was that he's an incredibly down-to-earth guy, and so the chance to have a chat with him was really nice. And then we did have the chance then to walk together down the red carpet. We have this barrage of cameramen and photographers, and I'm certain the photographers are always saying, get that guy out of the way, because I just want to get a picture of Ewan McGregor. So that was kind of fun. But I'm sure you can top that.
I feel like we're going to relive one of my favourite moments at this year's festival, because in 2008, when we did the Australian premiere of Kung Fu Panda, Jack Black came out and we actually kung fu'd our way up the red carpet together. Me in a sort of glamorous red frock that didn't really lend itself to high kicks, but Jack Black and Lucy Liu are coming back out this year for our Australian premiere of Kung Fu Panda 2, so I'm practicing my moves in preparation. But
my kids are really looking forward to Kung Fu Panda 2. That's going to be fantastic.
I do have a bit of a penchant for karate and Hong Kong action movies. So one of my favourite stories of all time was going to Jackie Chan's place in Hong Kong. Where I discovered, to my extreme interest, that he has a Venetian teacup collection, which is probably not how everybody thinks of Jackie Chan. But he also has the most extraordinary sort of compactus full of all of the objects from every film he's ever made. So he would be like moving each of the cupboards along, and they'd be ordered like, here are all the umbrellas that were ever in a Jackie Chan film. Here are all the cameras that were ever used to film a Jackie Chan film. So it's just this kind of very meticulous archival thinking, and he's a really charming and interesting man. And he's also an expert on Australian wine and has a great Australian wine collection. And the evening ended playing giant Jenga, which was and I won. So I get to say I beat Jackie Chan at giant Jenga, which is kind of something I'll be very happy to take with me.
And so from this year's festival, do you have a highlight?
We've got a great opening and closing night film. Opening night film is Hannah, starring Kate Blanchett, and Kate will be our guest at the festival for the opening night. Closing night is another terrific film, Beginners, with Christopher Plummer and Ewan McGregor again, actually. And then in between there's a whole bunch of great films. We have an official competition which screens some of the best films from around the world, which are cutting and audacious sort of films. So I'm really looking forward to the official competition.
I'm really excited about how the official competition has taken hold. It's now in its 4th year. We attract some really terrific films to that lineup, and this year, for example, we have 4 films that will be screening in that program direct from the Cannes Film Festival, including The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick, which won the Palme d'Or in Cannes. That's the 2nd year in a row our competition has had the screening of the Palme d'Or winners, so that's really exciting. And also the film that won Critics' Week, a film called Take Shelter, which stars Michael Shannon, who was so fantastic in Revolutionary Road, which he got an Oscar nomination for. And this is a sort of psychological disaster movie, and really quite something else. And 2 wonderful Australian films that also had their premieres at the Cannes Film Festival.
Chris, in the story of Chris Freeland, who would play you?
Oh, jeepers. I refuse to answer that question.
No, that's the question.
Yeah. Claire can answer.
Actually, it's one of my favourite games. It's something that I do in sort of team building exercises.
Okay.
Let's pretend we're a BBC drama. Who would play who? And it's really fun because you do have to. I mean.
So who would you pick, Claire?
Well, if I was going to be flattering, I'd say Brad Pitt.
Oh, that's very kind of you.
That's actually who I would have said as well.
Right, you're both far too kind.
And if you're going to be unflattering?
No,
don't go there. Don't go there.
No point going there, really, is there?
Brilliant. Well, thank you both so much for your time.
Thanks. Pleasure.
Cheers.